Welcome back to the ManTFup podcast, episode 43. I am Kimmy B.
And Lenny.
And today we're going to talk about something that is hitting very close to home right now, considering it's a topic that I actually came up with. We didn't snatch anything off of Twitter or Instagram this week. But before I go any further, please remember to like, subscribe, share, and follow on all social media channels, everywhere that you can find a podcast, and all of that good stuff. And as you know, comments come to your mind as you're watching or listening, please feel free to drop those wherever it is that you can drop them. I don't know.
Anywhere.
You know, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're watching. Okay, so I sent Lenny a text because we were talking about, what are we going to talk about this week? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, you know, I was driving into work this morning and it dawned on me. I was like, you know, when did we, because I got in a fight with somebody on Instagram, and not like a fight, but there was like a post about Beyonce performing in Dubai and how a community was upset and blah, blah, blah. And I was just in the comments and I wasn't even commenting. My fight with the person wasn't even about what the post was about. It was about their interaction kind of inside of a comment, as so many things on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter are, right? It's never about whatever.
No, it's about one little thing about whatever.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, I started going back and forth with this individual. And when I was driving into work today, I couldn't help but think, like, when did we start fighting with strangers? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Who did we fight with before the advent of the internet and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and social media and all of these places and chat rooms? Because, you know, if I go back to high school, I don't remember having random arguments with complete and total strangers. Now, I gave you the example, sports, yes. You can always fight about sports because you can go out to a bar and you can watch sports and you can get into an argument or a debate with another sports fan, whether it's about your team or their team or whatever. So, like, aside from that, like, I don't remember having political arguments with strangers.
You know what's funny about the sports thing?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can like a certain team or a certain driver or a certain thing, but you're arguing about facts.
Okay.
Because everybody knows the answers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, no,
if the coach fucked up, you know that the coach fucked up. Both sides know that the coach fucked up.
But like Kobe versus
players.
Jordan.
Yeah, you know.
Who's the GOAT? Like, I mean, there are definitely some subjective arguments.
It depends
there.
how you look at it. Statistics or,
well, you're still going to use facts for your argument, but then there's still going to be, you know, subjective pieces of it. But regardless, I understand what you're saying. You're still coming from a fundamentally sound
there's
place.
nobody arguing, you know, you're arguing who's better.
Yeah.
But you're not like arguing some made up shit. You're not arguing stuff that people just throw out there to fucking confuse people.
Do you know what I'm like? Like, if you were to go back to the 80s or the 90s and think, like, okay, who did you get into great debates with? Like, I can remember having good debates in college classrooms, like in lecture halls, right? Because that's where you're supposed to do it. If you were on debate team, that was the whole purpose of being somewhere, was to go toe-to-toe with people. And it's not even that you necessarily felt different than them. Your goal was to present a side, right? You're usually handed one side or the other, and it's your job to prove or disprove whatever it is that you're talking about, right? Like, that's the whole art of debate.
Yeah, and the other difference is that in the past, you could have an argument with somebody and still be their friend.
Well, that was the difference, but this is what I'm saying. But I think that part of that's an important point to make, because when you know people, I feel like you factor in the history that you have with them and what you believe their heart to be, right? So if you're having an impassioned conversation about, let's say, something you view as a moral issue, or something that you view as a character defining issue, there's so many more facets that you know about the person that you're arguing with when you know them, when they're a friend.
Yeah, but I mean, even strangers. I mean, I remember.
Did you just fight randomly with strangers about politics?
Well, I mean, let's just well, let's just say you're having that friendly argument over sports in a bar with someone you've never met before. Okay? You think they're totally off their fucking rocker about this certain topic. Well, you still look at that person before and say, oh, well, we can, you know, I'm sure there's other things we have in common, or, you know, we both think the ball is round, you know, I mean, things that go beyond that argument. And nowadays, people don't go beyond that. If you feel one certain way about one certain thing, there's nothing that I want to talk to you about. That's the
Yeah,
difference.
but there also used to be like rules. Like, remember, there were things that you didn't talk about. You didn't talk about religion. You didn't talk about politics. You didn't talk about money. That was kind of like an unwritten rule. That was something that in a lot of households you're taught. Like when you're out in public, like those aren't conversations that you just strike up. You know, it was like at family dinners. There were certain things that you want to avoid the argument, like there were just taboo to talk about. And now, you know, we're so consumed by the 24-hour news cycle. We're so consumed with social media. We're so consumed with what we've seen on our feed that I don't think we can help but bring up these topics that at one point in time would not have been discussed outside of a quote unquote safe space where people knew each other and felt like they could, you know, agree to disagree. Mm-hmm. I think that culturally there's been a shift in what is deemed appropriate conversation with people that you don't know. And that's kind of, and I think that stems from the dialogue that we have on the internet, because 9 times out of 10, you're communicating with strangers on Twitter. You're having a conversation or you're commenting on a post, you know, of a person that you have no connection to, or it's a post from a news outlet or whatever the case may be, and you're commenting on somebody's comment, right?
Or it's AI.
Okay, or it's
it's headed there.
Okay.
It's headed there.
But I mean, my point is that just about the conversations and the things that we discuss now that I don't think we would have discussed 25 or 30 years ago with perfect strangers unless you were at a rally, unless you were, you know.
I think 25, 30 years ago, prior to, which is really only 15 years ago, prior to social media, mm-hmm. Maybe even less, people were like tribes. You know, you grew up, you went to high school, there was cool kids, there was nerds, there was sports kids, there was this, and everybody kind of found their own clique. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah. And
I had a very diverse clique, though.
Yeah, that's fine. Diverse. And some people can be a chameleon across several different things. You know, and that's fine. But it was like those people you had something in common with, even if they had different things. You never really got like this. But now it's growing into these same people have this voice, and these cliques are going, well, I feel the same way, and I feel the same way. And it's like everybody's trying to grow these mountains of followings that believe in their... So it's getting so splintered through social media that you're going to have constant fighting. You can't help it because people go to extremes here. They go to extremes on sports. They go to extremes on everything.
No, but this is now like a learned behavior, though, I think.
Yes.
Like,
no, it's absolute.
When did we decide that it was okay to fight with perfect strangers? Like, literally,
and not even knowing the person.
That's my point. A complete and total stranger. Like, to me, it's crazy because, like, it would have been considered bad manners. Like, most of our parents would have been like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? You don't know that person. Like, why are you even having this conversation right now? I mean, it's funny. We will literally criticize people on their parenting skills. We will criticize people on their personal choices in relationships. We will come for people over politics. We will come for people over body autonomy. Like, it's crazy. The conversation I was engaged in yesterday, you know, I felt like I was defending another poster. And the individual that I engaged with had used the word gaslighting. And gaslighting, as I'm sure anybody watching this right now.
So wait, you were arguing with a stranger?
Yeah.
While defending a stranger.
But I wasn't.
I'm just curious to get it in context.
Didn't ask really even for defense. There it wasn't
I get that.
Oh, she was out there on her own. He was out there on their own. It was just the man accused this other individual of gaslighting, and I was like, sir, hold up. Like, first of all, maybe you ought to pull out your Webster's real quick because you are textbook gaslighting right now. And I came with facts. And, you know, it was about the LGBTQIA plus community. And, you know, we talk a lot about that on this podcast, but I'm not even going to take it there. But we were going back and forth. And this dude really was like, I dare you to prove that I said this. And I was like, skirt. Screenshot, post, hey, and I quote you. And he's like, see, this is why people don't like to talk to your type. And I was like, what is my type? You know, because I was extremely calm. I wasn't, I can curse like a sailor. I wasn't cursing. Len, the way I come for you, right? Like, you would have been like, why are you, like, don't act like a puss, Kim. Like, if you're going to bring the fire, bring the fire. I was very respectful. I was just pointing out the hypocrisy in his commentary.
Yeah, but do you feel like that's part of the problem?
What?
That he's having an argument with her or him or whoever. Two people are arguing. And then a third party comes in and corrects people or picks a side and knows nothing about either of them.
Well, no, he was it was complete misinformation. It was just what the individual I was arguing with was saying was just ridiculousness. It was just a falsehood. And they were saying this other person was gaslighting. And I was like, bruh, first of all, you're just misusing the word. And I hate that. That's my thing right now. Like, because people, like, it's become like their go-to word. It's like gaslighting this, gaslighting that, gaslighting this, gaslight. And I'm just like, or toxic. Toxic was like the word of 2022. And now gaslighting is like 2023's word. And it's like, don't use the word if you don't know the meaning. And then it was funny because he was questioning whether or not, the queer community has a culture. And I was like, here's the definition of culture. You know what I mean? Like, I'm one of those people, because it was just everything he was saying, like, you had no facts. So to your point, it's people just pulling random shit out of their ass. And if nobody ever tells you you're wrong, then like, or you're just like, literally, you're just fundamentally wrong. Whether that's your ideology, cool, but don't act like you're doing something or stating fact when you're not, because by definition, these are all the reasons why this is a culture. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so all I was doing was basically breaking down what they were saying and backing my statement up with facts, and he was calling me a liar. But it was just funny because I was like, 30 years ago, I would not have had this conversation. And I would not have been waking up at 4:30 in the morning to another comment from this individual calling me a liar. You know what I'm saying? On my Instagram. So I was just like, so yes, to answer your question, I am a part of the problem, obviously. But not in the disrespectful way, but it's difficult not to. I think it's a blessing and a curse. I think it's one of those double-edged sword situations, because I think part of the reason why we've never really been able to get to the root of some of the issues that plague this country is because we are tribal, right? And before Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and Facebook and all of these social media platforms, people were kind of in their silos, and there was no way of knowing that there were other like-minded people outside of your tiny little town in Iowa or whatever, right? And then all of a sudden you have the internet at your fingertips, and even if you're 12 and you haven't been able to leave town yet, right? Like, you just have to wait to college. There were some kids who couldn't wait to turn 18 and get the hell out of their house, right? Maybe get the hell out of their town, their city, their state, their country, whatever, And now at a much younger age, you can find your quote-unquote tribe. You can find other like-minded people.
I think part of the problem with that, though, is these younger people finding their tribe. We just discussed it a minute ago. My daughter's into theater. Now she's not. She's 16 years old. She's thinking about doing, being a lawyer, or doing this or doing that. She doesn't know. So when you find your tribe at 10 or 11 years old, or what you think is your tribe, it then becomes an indoctrination, because
that's a very big word.
But it's a very real word, because
that's on your parents.
At that age, and up until, probably your early to mid 20s.
No, it's adults. Adults are being indoctrinated by social media right now.
No, absolutely. That's true. I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is, at those young ages, you are more susceptible to being pushed in a direction.
Okay.
It's Kimmy, it's a fact. That's why you see kids that are raised by their parents. They kind of follow along their parents' footsteps.
Okay.
That's their...
I was talking more teenagers. I don't know why you said 10 or 11, because, again, we'll go back to this.
12.
Well, no, but why are your kids on social media, though? No, 12 is 12. 13 is a teenager. Yeah. 13, 14, 15, 16. I'm talking about, like, when you're at an age when you are, if you're a member of the LGBTQ community, you can find community in a bunch of different ways. That just happened to be the one I was talking about yesterday. But I'm just saying, it's if you only exist in a space, where, let's say, people have very white nationalist beliefs, right? Then that is what you think the world is like. If you never have exposure to anything else, if you exist in a very kumbaya, hippie, love is love, everything is good space, then that's what you think. If you grow up on a hippie commune, you think everybody walks around, barefoot and loves everyone.
Okay, which is great. So now these 13-year-old kids are.
Why are you taking it to teenagers? I don't want that to get,
because that's
I'm talking about whole adults arguing with strangers.
I understand.
Why are you bringing up teenagers again? That makes the conversation different, Len.
It makes it different than what?
Because I'm talking about me as an adult. I didn't learn this as a teenager. I'm talking about the double-edged sword of now being as an adult to now knowing that there are people that think differently than you. So that's social media.
Yes.
And that's good, bad, and otherwise. So it's like if you live in a space where, you don't quote unquote see color or whatever, or you're very open-minded and accepting, and then you come on a thread like I was on yesterday and you're like, oh shit, okay, bet. Like there are people out here who just definitely don't like this community, or there are people out here who don't like black people. There are people out here who don't like Donald Trump, or who don't like Ron DeSantis, or don't
like white people.
Yeah, for sure.
Same thing.
But I'm giving you an example of just, it exposes you to the other side of things.
Yeah.
And that is a blessing, because if you don't know, then you're blindsided when you run into it.
Yeah, and I think a big part of this is where you grow up. Because, I grew up in South Florida. So there was always a Latin community, black community, Haitian community. It was all a melting pot. Mm-hmm. So for me, culturally, I saw all kinds of stuff. You have rednecks, you have Indians, you have everything you could imagine here to be exposed to, and then people gravitate to wherever, like Nick, WB Nick, right? He is like in this fishing
salt lifer all day.
Yeah, that's all he is, and it's like outside of that, he's like this, and even social media, he only gets that.
Well, yeah,
it's
he has
funny,
a very large following, but it's all
that. Yeah, and that's what he gets fed. So it's just interesting to me that it seems almost like people are being thrown together to have that argument.
But we choose to but here's the deal, though. I chose to engage with this individual.
Yes,
and that's what's changed culturally.
That's fine. You chose to engage with this individual, but how did that individual end up there? What did that individual see that lit him up to come on and make comments here? And what did, it's like, it's like Nick never sees anything.
Okay, but I don't want to blame it on the algorithm. I want to talk about us culturally getting to a place where
that's what's training us. That's what's training us is the social media. The social media is what's causing that.
I get it, but at some point, though, we just decided that it was going to be like, so Facebook started off as a place, they've said this, it was supposed to be a place to spread love, to engage with your fellow students or whatever, your community, your friends, people that you maybe had lost contact with, right? Like, it was all supposed to be about positive vibes. And clearly we see how that worked out, right? But there were good intentions there, right? Creating community. And that's something that we had honestly lost, right? Like, when you think about it from back in the day, I think I hear these stories about people who grew up in even in cities, even in a Brooklyn, in a Bronx, in a, here in Broward, where they didn't necessarily leave, right? Your whole life was there. You knew the people on your block, or, in your radius. You had the bodega on the corner, or the corner store, or the Jewish deli, wherever you went. People, Sunny Isles, very much a tribal community, in the sense of, people that have grown up there, their grandparents lived there, they've been vacationing there their whole life. Like, they've known the deli guy for forever. Like, so we had started to lose that, though, as people started leaving home, going away to college, not coming back. The nuclear family became much smaller. There was no longer the extended family, and a lot of people were blaming where America was headed on that, right? We no longer had the support. It was no longer about the village that it takes to raise a child, right? Things were very much more, nuclear. So now you have this thing that comes in, and it's supposed to kind of reconnect us, right? And it starts off doing that, and as a way to even meet new people for more introverted individuals.
Reach out to your extended family. I mean, I probably have 300 cousins throughout my my two parents.
Are you friends with them on Facebook?
Yeah, you know, I think there's a few that we're friends with that I wouldn't normally be talking to.
Yeah.
Unless it was for Facebook. So, I mean, for that purpose, yeah, it's great.
But when did we decide to use the good for evil? Like, when did we decide that all of a sudden we were going to start sliding in the comment section?
When they put money behind it and they started controlling Facebook, when they started putting things in there to push people one way or another. I mean, when Facebook started, you know, you may know this person was probably somebody you probably would know. Now you may know this person, you know, is not necessarily, it could be a polar opposite person.
Facts.
So somebody's pushing those buttons. Somebody's pushing us around.
But we've become comfortable enough to engage, though. Yeah. And before we would, like, I wouldn't have necessarily sat at a bar before and overheard a conversation that I fundamentally disagreed with.
And opened your mouth.
And turned around and just butted in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not that I necessarily do that now without being engaged first. You know, and I'm a bar sitter, and so are you. So you and I are actually interesting people to have this conversation because we've probably had more out-of-pocket conversations just because of who we are as people, in the sense of sitting at a bar, having a cocktail or a meal, and striking up a conversation with, like, because you can talk to anybody, I can talk to anybody. It is what it is. Dawn, our last guest, ended up in here because you struck up a conversation, right? You know, but I'm just saying, things that you would not have done in real life, you are now emboldened to do on social media. Like, you are telling somebody
everybody grew internet balls.
Who they are.
That's pretty much what it is.
Like, you're a demon, you're going straight to hell. Like, you're a fucking clown, you're trash, you're a whore, you're a hooker, you're a pedophile. Like, it's wild.
Part of this goes to the fact that you're not getting smacked in the face when you say something.
Okay.
That's, you know. You have no fear of that on the internet. People have no fear of that on the internet. That's why you see kids who would normally be getting bullying other kids on the internet. You know, it's like it empowers people because they're anonymous.
But the thing is, they're not so anonymous anymore, and that's and then we get mad, and then you have the people that are like on the other side of it yelling, "You can't just be out here canceling," you know, because now we have cancel culture, right? That one shift in how we handle disagreements, right, and in how we voice our opinions to people has now led to this other thing called cancel culture, which just has, you know, ignited the fire even more. And now you have people going for people's jobs. Like, because on the other side, you can find anything on the internet, right?
Of course.
So you've got the folks that can track an IP address. You've got the folks that can get in through the, you know, and some people like me, I don't hide anything, in the sense of when I argue with you or if I comment on something, my profile is real. It's exactly who I am. You can see what I do for a living. I'm not coming at you from a priv page. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, I am who I am, who I am, who I am. If you wanted to contact my place of work, you could. If you wanted to file a complaint, you could. I mean, you could do any of those things, right? I'm not disrespectful. Like, that's it. I'm not like harassing people, and I don't swear at people. Like, I'm really much meaner to you, Lenny. In person and in real life on this couch than I am to anybody on social media. But it's just wild because I was like, until this, I would not have been having that conversation.
It was my video that got taken down for bullying you.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh, don't be a bully, Lenny. Don't be a bully. I think I already addressed this, but trust and believe me, I can go toe-to-toe with Len. I love and appreciate anybody who felt he was being disrespectful or bullying me, but I can take it and I can dish it. And Lenny usually actually gets the brunt of it. Trust and believe me. So while I thank you for looking out, I think you might have gotten that one wrong.
Yeah, and these are just conversations. And at the end of the day, we can still be friends.
Yeah.
No matter how much we disagree, no matter how much misinformation Kimmy has, it doesn't matter.
Listen to you. That was fantastic. No matter how crazy Len sounds. No matter how much shit he makes up.
Uh-huh.
See, Lenny, don't make me do it, dude. Don't make me start throwing out words and labeling you now. I don't want to do that. But yeah, it's just, and that is a beautiful thing about this and about this space. But it's just like culturally, I think sometimes we need to just press pause and remember that there was a time when we wouldn't have even been able to have this information about other people, right? And it's so, I think, powerful. And I think, again, like I said, it's a double-edged sword, right? It's a blessing and a curse. I'm so happy. I've said this numerous times about having worked in hip-hop radio and then having transitioned over to quote-unquote general market. It gives you such a better understanding of where people stand, right? Because when I worked on hip-hop radio, I would say 93%, right, of our audience was like-minded in what we were talking about, especially when it came to social issues, cultural issues, political issues. When I went over to general market, it's much more split down the middle, 50-50, right? And there were times when I would just be blown away because I'd spent so much of my career having conversations with like-minded people and not really getting the pushback, you know, especially with things that really were just so fundamentally important and true to who I was, that when I got to the other side and was presented with, you know, the other argument or the other side of the coin, I was like, holy shit. And I felt like it was my job to tell everybody, like, listen, guys, they don't all think like us. Do you know what I mean? Like, I used to go back over to my hip-hop station and be like, you won't believe what they said, you know? But it was important to me because when 2016 happened, I wasn't blindsided the way some people were. Do you know what I mean? Like, there were a lot of people that were like, there's no way Trump could win and whatever. And I was like, yes, he could, you know? And whether you voted for him or not, that's your decision. But I'm just saying I wasn't as shocked as some other individuals were. And that was because I had been blessed to see both sides of it. And I knew that there were plenty of people who were disgruntled, right? I was elated for 8 years when we had Barack Obama, you know, and there were a lot of people who were not. And there were people who voted for him that just were not happy with the way that administration handled things or with where the economy, you know, whatever.
Well, it goes to, you know, everybody's got their fighting point. So, you know, if you win 10% of the population on this and 10% of the population on this and 10% of the population on this, you know, by the time you build that 60% of the population you need to win unanimously, you might piss some people off in that
it's
term.
Difficult, for sure.
You do, you know, they and they're politicians. They're career politicians. They're not out for the American people. They're out for their political agenda. And it's sad, but that's where we're at. And that's why you get a lot of this argument. You get a lot of the people pushing back on all kinds of things. And it's giving everybody a voice.
Yeah.
And they sound like kooks. They sound like kooks because there's people like you were, admittedly, just now you said I was in this bubble of...
Yeah, there's a lot, but a lot of people are like that.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
I would say, honestly,
that's what I'm saying.
The majority of people are in a bubble.
Correct.
And not aware.
Absolutely correct. Then they
side.
hear these people over here talking, and they sound like fucking kooks. They're not necessarily kooks. They just have a totally different view of certain things. So that's, you know, that's how you get these arguments going, and you get, you know, and there's a lot of stupid people out there.
But would you rather have the information? Would you rather know that? And would you rather be able to engage in these conversations with perfect strangers? Or do you miss the piece of 30, 40 years ago where, like, Len, I really, and I understand I was much younger, obviously pre-advent of the internet and this space. Like, I wouldn't have been arguing at 8 about politics. You know what I'm saying? So I get that that's kind of a silly take on it. But I just don't remember hearing this amount of political conversation. I don't remember hearing this amount of cultural and, you know, socio, like...
No. And it's what it's done is it's taken, government-wise, it's taken us into, like, this day-to-day thing. I mean, like what fucking president is tweeting every fucking day? You know, why are we hearing about stuff from the White House on social media? Growing up, Reagan Carter, the only things you heard about were big fucking events. You know, the
and you heard about it from the Oval Office.
Yeah,
and it was sitting at the desk.
The Iranian, you know, when the embassy was taken in Iran, you know, that was a big fucking thing. That's all you heard about the government during his fucking reign. You know, Reagan, you only heard about when he got shot, you know, or when Brady got shot. What, you know, it's like now you hear about fucking day-to-day shit that changes day to day. You know, it's like the government is a business, and they're going to say something today that might not be true tomorrow. And people are trying to hold them accountable like they have a fucking crystal ball. Yeah. And they don't. So, you know, there's certain things that should not be so prevalent in American society. And that was not when we were younger. Yeah. You know, you heard about the president-elect or whoever's running for a few months before the election. You picked them on what their points were, and, you know, if you felt they were the best candidate. And now it comes down to, you know, they pick a fucking hot topic that they know a lot of people are going to rally around, and that's what they fucking run on, and that's it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, as you're talking, like, I love that you kind of just said we have to give the government a break in some regards, not in all, but like when, you know, and even in thinking about the handling of 2020. I hate to even reference what it was because you never know what's going to happen. The government's fucked. They're all out for themselves, okay? Don't get me wrong. I'm not a big government guy. No, but I'm talking about, but I'm talking about, like, they're humans. When you're talking about, you know, a global pandemic, and as you're getting new information every day, when you're getting that information and giving it out as soon as you're getting it, the likelihood of something being wrong or changing is pretty fucking high. Yes. Right? Like, it is what it is. So unfortunately, when you're holding somebody or you're just seeing your timeline and not realizing that tweet is from 4 days ago, and you're like, they don't even know what they're talking about. And you're like, no, your phone just hasn't caught up to you yet. Yeah. But it's scary. You know, it's scary. The amount of shit that gets put out. And a lot of it is wrong. I mean, a lot of it is wrong. A lot of what we heard over the past, since 2016, since before that election, a lot of that shit we've heard is all made up bullshit. And it's been proven. It's been proven over and over again, Kimmy. It's not, I'm not making this up. Well, but you're also not giving an example, and please don't, because I don't have the time to fact check you on this podcast. Well, no, I'm just saying, like, you're like a lot of it. That's just such a vague, this is what people do. A lot of this, a lot of that, and it was bullshit. What are you even, I don't even know what you're talking about or alluding to. Well, you could start with the fact that if you get the jab, you don't get the virus, which that clearly not. Nobody ever said that. Nobody said that. Nobody said the likelihood of you dying would be monumentally reduced, and it was. I'll find it for you. And it was. I'll find it for you. But who said it? And did it come from? But remember, we don't trust science. And listen, we don't trust doctors. They might not be. My point is, Kimmy, even if they did say it, or, you know, if they said it, and they were saying it because they felt it, or the facts of the day before said that was what it was, it's still not a fact the following day. They're putting out information. They were putting out information so fast that it couldn't even be processed or proven. But to your point, though, again, 100 years ago, it would have taken a year for somebody in small town Idaho to get the scientific update in an encyclopedia. Like, we just used to do what we were told. It would probably be correct by then. No, but we just used to do what we were told. Like, when it came down to it, like, this is a very different conversation than what we set out to have. But, like, there was a time when we trusted doctors and we trusted science. And there was a time when we were excited about putting people on the moon, and we believed in our government, and we, you know, all of these things. Like, your kids are vaccinated, I'm pretty sure, right? Like, measles, mumps, rubella, all of that stuff. Right? Yeah. Like, you're vaccinated. We have all of these. We have generations now that have taken science's word, you know, that this will help us. And we had eradicated diseases that used to kill. Taking science's word on something that's been done for 25 or 30 years. But it wasn't always. Or 50 years. Somebody had to take a chance, right? And absolutely. Some people died, and then a whole bunch of people lived. So, do you know what I'm saying? Like, unfortunately now, though, you've got information, and then you've got people who think they're experts and contradicting the people who have
literally given their lives over to studying these things. Can they get things wrong? They surely can. But it's like then you have other folks out here just stoking the flames, hoping that people fail. Who hopes that science got it wrong and they fucked up and we're going to have a generation of zombies? Who hopes for that? Some crazies on the internet do so that they can be right about not getting a vaccine. Like, it's wild to me. Why would anybody hope that for humanity?
No, I feel you. And
it's crazy.
It's the lack of trust.
From what, though? Why? Why? Wait, what is, like, you love to say how great this country, I just don't understand it. Like, why? And is it because you found your tribe? Like, it's funny to me because it's nothing on here. Before, it used to be like, go look it up in a book, right? You used to go to an encyclopedia, you would look something up. Now, you go to Twitter and you search a hashtag and you take whatever idiot @ sign.
Yeah.
And whatever they had to say about it, that's what you take as gospel. That's wild. Like, when did we get to this place?
I mean, have you been to a hospital or anything lately, or been to a doctor? The doctor's like, don't listen to what Google says. You know?
Well, yeah, or like, what is it? That there's a WebMD. You had people diagnosing themselves left and right. They're coming in, I'm dying, doc. I'm dying.
I have this, I have that, I have this.
Like, you're dehydrated. Go drink some water, you nut job.
Yeah, but that's all part of that whole.
But you realize we're arguing with strangers, and then we're also literally putting our lives in the hands of strangers. And I'm not talking about our doctors. I'm talking about the people on the internet that you're basing your judgment as to whether or not you should get a vaccine, right? Like, you know, people didn't base it on science or, like, Lenny, you work in this space. I know you're not an idiot. You made a choice that was right for you. You know what I'm saying? But you did your research. You talked to people. You read up on it, and you had your reasons. You're like, listen, if in 5 years shit is good and there's another wave of this, cool, I'll get it then. I'm just not going to do it right now. Like, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the conversation that we've had.
I'm not the guinea pig.
We've had that conversation. And you know what? And there's no judgment there with that. But I can respect somebody, a doctor. There are doctors that didn't do it, right? And they had their reasons behind it. And some of them had talked to scientists and were like, hey, listen, it's just not worth the risk. And then there were a ton of others that were like, absolutely not. Like, I'm doing this. It's for the good of the community, whatever, right? So if you can come to me with some sort of facts, again, it was the argument that I had on Instagram yesterday. It's like, I like facts. I like, if you can come to me with a definition, come to me with statistics, come to me with a medical journal article, come to me with something that you have actually researched beyond, again, just a Google headline. And you and I can talk, and I'll respect whatever opinion, whether I agree with it or not. I will respect you for coming to me like an intellectual. I will respect you for respecting my time enough to have your ducks in a row. But unfortunately, that is not the criteria for 99.99999% of the world when it comes to arguing with strangers or believing strangers or walking in blind faith with strangers.
Do you know who Jordan Peterson is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, he has a lot of interesting beliefs and thoughts about things. And he's highly educated and you know, a lot of his opinions make sense to some extent. Yet someone who actually could bring a meaningful argument to a conversation based on education and facts, is being shut down everywhere. The Canadian government's threatening to take his license to practice medicine if he doesn't take a social media reconditioning course. So the people who are educated get shut down, get pushed away. It's like all they want is the loons on there. You know, this is like anything else. Any press is good press. You know that saying? That's like the old saying before social media.
Yeah.
Any press is good press. So no matter what it is, whether you fuck this up or you do great, either way, your name is in the press and it's getting light on you. That's kind of what they're doing, and they're you know.
Yeah, but the problem is, and not that I'm agreeing, because I don't know enough about Jordan or what he's saying to get himself shut down. You know, because Crystal sat in here. Crystal Tini. And she could go toe-to-toe with anybody in terms of backing up her beliefs and why she feels the way she feels. And then if you do a little research on the people that she chooses, you know, to put her faith in, right? I don't necessarily agree with them, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, as long as you're not doing it blindly or because somebody told you to, you know what I mean? Like I can't fault you for that. I don't have to follow you, but I can't fault you for it, right? Like Jordan feels his way. There's a lot of people out here. There's a lot of holistic people's accounts that are getting shut down right now, and that's wild to me because they're just talking about medicine that's been around since we were walking around like apes.
My mother-in-law had an issue. We were scared she was going to die. She's thank God she's home and doing better, but she had an issue, and the woman who's there helping them out said here and made her a flaxseed, you know, just a natural flaxseed drink.
Yep.
And it worked in 5 minutes.
Wow.
And all this shit you buy off the shelf is it's garbage. It's you know, it's for me, just in general, all the things we're fighting about and arguing about, it's if people just spent a quarter of the energy that they're putting into arguing with other people on actually fixing one little thing in their community, one little thing, it would make a huge difference. It would make a huge difference. You know, the holistic and natural stuff has been erased. And you say, well, they're canceling them. Yeah, they're canceling them because the holistic people are not paying $10 million a month to advertise.
But what happened to that being passed down in a family? This is not new. My frustration with this is also the fact that it's not new.
No.
Like my mom, when she had me, literally used to put all of her people food in a food grinder and make me baby food. So like I grew up, if she had lamb chops, she'd grind it down, asparagus, grind it down.
Carrots, whatever.
You know what I mean? Whatever it was. I mean, she would, you know, you can get baby food makers now like on Amazon. But like that was her deal, right? And I was also a formula baby. She had to go back to work, so it wasn't like I was breastfed. She wasn't one of these like, you know, on the titty till I'm 5 and like whatever. But she was like, whatever I can do that's going to be more healthy for my child. You know, I had to compromise over here because I had to work. But if I can do it right over here, this is what I'm going to do. Instead of Frosted Flakes, it was, you know, the most sugary cereal I ever had as a kid, Honey Nut Cheerios, right? And the whole deal with Cheerios is they're supposed to be safe for kids because if you swallow them, they got a hole in the middle. You can't really choke on Cheerios, and they're soft and they mush up, and like you know that, right?
Okay.
There's like a safety issue. So I had regular Cheerios and Honey Nut Cheerios. I was always the kid with the stupid lunches like that everybody else would laugh at. You know, like cut cucumbers and oil and vinegar. And if you had a granola bar, you didn't want it. You wanted your chips. You'd be like, hey, give it to Kim. She'll eat the granola bar. Like I was like that kid. But I'm so grateful for that now because I love drinking regular water. I love fruits and veggies. Like those are things that are passed down. So before we start pointing the finger at everybody, like when did that go away? That shouldn't be something that you have to find on TikTok. And for the people that don't know it, it should be allowed on TikTok. Like why are we blocking this great, less expensive information?
Because there's no money in it.
I get that, but
that's why it's being blocked.
But TikTok's not making the money off of it.
Listen, they are.
But I mean, here's the deal. Oh God, again, we're not gonna turn this into a 2-hour because you know this. This is a conversation that you and I really do need to get into because I think we both feel very passionately about the food industry. We both feel very passionately about health and wellness. I told you as soon as they started talking about the pandemic, I knew that this country was about to be fucked, and that was just because we're an obese, unhealthy, I hate to say lazy, you know what I mean? Despite all the fitness influencers you see on your timeline, unfortunately, majority of Americans are clinically obese. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of reasons for that. And back to your point about, you know, the government and healthcare and the pharmaceutical industry and everything else, like that is the one place where I will say that there's some cahootism going on. You know, I just made up a word. You like that? They're in cahoots. Cahootism.
Can I get the definition of that? You're all about definitions.
Cahootism. They're in cahoots. When they're cahooting together. When multiple parties are cahooting.
Okay.
Like, that is cahootism.
Oh, that's a goddamn clip. I've never seen one.
But yeah, like, you know, your mother-in-law being in the hospital and all it took was literally a pack of seeds you can run into and get at any... Like,
yeah, it's...
And I don't mean that that's the simplicity of it, but it's
No.
like, it is more lucrative to keep people on medication for life than it is to cure them of whatever it is that they have or to prevent them from getting it in the first place.
Second largest industry in the United States.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also in heart disease, you know, the other one. And when we talk about all the reasons.
It's healthcare. It's the second largest industry in the United States behind energy. You know?
But why can't it be healthcare?
Do we want electric cars? Yeah, we want electric cars. So why aren't we building cleaner power plants so that we could have that? You know, they're like, it's these arguments that people are having are because things are being pushed on them. Mm-hmm. You know, did you see the thing on Wyoming? Wyoming said they're going to
ban electric cars.
They're going to ban electric cars which to me makes sense because you're running on something and you're pushing an agenda of using the environment as your calling card to push an agenda that you can't even fucking support. California cannot support electric. They can't support
literally
3% electric cars.
Power.
Yes.
They do not have the means to create the amount of power.
But they're not trying to fix that problem. So, you know, this is where you get a lot of these fucking arguments and where you get a lot of these cuckoo people.
But do you realize how few people even know that? Like, do you realize how many people are against electric cars just because...
That's the point.
Just because the red side of them is saying that they're trying to take away your gas cars.
Yes.
Do you understand? Like, they don't know why.
But that's why people sound like kooks when they say, you know, electric cars aren't that efficient.
Yeah.
All you're doing is moving the emissions to where you can't see them.
Yeah.
You know, that's all it is. But that guy's a kook.
Yeah. Well, we also talked about it takes 6 years for one Tesla to basically make good on the energy.
Yeah. And that's at the level of being produced now. If you went to a level of replacing internal combustion cars with all electric, you're going to kill the planet.
Yeah.
You're going to kill the planet.
Yeah.
You know, forget about we're trying to keep the emissions lower.
Yeah, I mean,
you're going to kill the planet.
Also, I was just driving down Pembroke Road the other day and I was thinking about this. I was like, what are we going to do with all the gas stations? Like, what happens to all of these people? You know how many Americans own gas stations?
Yeah.
Like, you know how many, like, what? Like,
did I mention energy is the largest industry in the United States?
They become charging stations. Like, what do you turn those into? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're already losing our movie theaters left and right. We've lost our Sears and our Kmarts and our whatevers. Like, so gas stations are just on the chopping block neck. Like, I mean, I just don't get it. Like, I don't know. There's got to be some sort of give and take. And I'm not saying that I want to kill the planet. And I'm not saying that I don't believe in climate change, because I do. And I think there's a lot of things that are wrong with our planet right now.
Oh, I believe the climate's changing. I just don't believe that we're 100% the cause of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So, you know.
I mean, we're playing a role, but we're also doing other things to kill our planet, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've discussed this.
Pollution.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to the thing that covers 70% of the earth, which is the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, and overfishing, like a lot of things. But whatever. At the end of the day, I don't know how we fix. I don't know if we take it back to the original conversation, which is like, you know,
keyboard warriors.
Well, yeah, but how do you change that? Or is that like, I don't think this is good for society. I don't want to go back to the Stone Ages, right, where nobody talks to anybody and everything is, we pretend like we have, you know, we have good manners all the time, right? Like, because that's why Archie Bunker, like one of your favorite people, was so avant-garde and was so kind of, you know, what is the word that I'm looking for? When something is...
You know, it's...
Fuck, I lost my words. I hate when I do that.
Maybe you'll find
Controversial. Why Archie Bunker was so controversial, right?
But it's controversial. It's more controversial now, I think, than it was then. When Archie Bunker was on the air, it was accepted by everybody. There was nobody fucking screaming and yelling That's fucked up. That's this. That's that. There was none of that then.
Mm-hmm.
Now is when people are mad about it.
Meathead was.
Well, yeah, maybe a little.
Meathead was definitely telling on.
Yeah, but I mean, it was about hippies. It was about all of that. You know, it was about change in society at that point. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's the evolution of the United States.
But you realize though that Archie is the perfect example of how he's like Archie didn't just say that shit. You know, he was saying it in his house and to his neighbors who knew him. Like George knew exactly where he stood with Archie Bunker, George Jefferson.
Yeah,
right?
and they were both on the same level.
But you understand, like, because that was all you knew. Like they lived in that house their whole fucking life.
Yeah.
Their kids lived. You know what I'm saying?
The tribal thing.
You know, and it was a safe space to say that, and people said that's just what did they say? That's just Archie. Right? That's just Archie. And Meathead was literally, he was a Gen Zer before Gen Z.
Yes.
Right?
He was a hippie. He was a 70s hippie.
Is that what the Gen Z is? Are they just a new wave group of hippies?
Maybe. I mean, I saw this. I saw this. You know, I don't want to get into it, but yes, keyboard warriors. That's you know.
But keyboard warriors are of all generations. So this isn't a
yes.
Gen Z.
No.
I mean, there are 80-year-olds out here picking fights with 20-year-olds. You know, and vice versa.
Because they're not getting smacked.
But, I mean...
They're not getting smacked.
I get it, but we wouldn't have even had the conversation before.
I feel you.
Like, how did we slide into this space where we're comfortable saying this shit
We've
to
been
strangers?
programmed to do it.
How?
Kimmy, it takes 3 weeks to create a habit, right? For a person, right? That's what they say.
Yeah.
3 weeks. If you do something every day for 3 weeks, it's now a habit. You're doing it. You get up at 5 a.m. every day for 3 weeks. It's going to become routine and it's going to become normal.
Like, I don't fight with everybody on Instagram, though.
But the information and the stuff we're getting fed as individuals, because that's how far it can go to groups or individuals that are like-minded, are getting fed this exact thing every day. Mm-hmm. So if it only takes 3 weeks to create a habit, what do you think 10 years of Instagram telling you one thing is going to make you feel?
I mean, my Instagram is all. I don't want to blame it all on. I don't.
Your Instagram is your stuff.
Yeah. It's
your stuff.
And I tell you, it's like it's all over the place because I'm all over the place.
Yes, and that's lucky for some of us. Some other people I know in this office only get one fucking thing, and they come in here with fucking cuckoo-ness fucking going on. That's we're being conditioned. If you can't understand that they've taken our entertainment.
But are we in a better place though? Like, what do you think though? Just socially, Len.
I think we're fucked.
Okay, you do?
Yeah.
So you think it was better before when people were tribal and didn't know what existed outside of their little space?
What's the saying? Ignorance is bliss.
But it's not.
But somewhat, Kimmy, it can be. And it also allows people to become adults before they are exposed to certain things, you know, which they might be able to rationalize in different ways without, you know, their hormones driving their thoughts. You know, it's just a thought. It's just a thought.
Caitlyn Jenner knew at 6.
But the other point is,
so, and this was way before social media.
Yeah, well, that's fine for Caitlyn. You know,
but
she chose
them.
But she became an adult at 18. Mm-hmm. She waited till she was fucking 60
70. Yeah.
to decide to do this. So don't tell me she didn't have options.
What do you mean? Yeah.
But
what I'm saying to you is nothing influences that in a person's head. Like the demons, she also tried to kill herself multiple times. Like, I mean, there's a lot of darkness there too, not living as your authentic self. All I'm saying is I don't think that the internet plays the role that a lot of people would like to believe in people's, you know.
But how can you say that? Because
sexuality.
You don't know what other people see.
What do you mean? Lenny?
You don't know what's on other people's feeds.
How they're born.
No, besides that, I don't care about that.
That's how people are born.
We're talking about the internet and where we're going. And are we fucked? Yeah, because people...
I'm talking about what you were just referencing, without their hormones being involved and whatever else. Like,
I'm talking about kids again.
Yeah, and what?
Teenagers, okay? I don't care what they are. They're teenagers. Mm-hmm. I don't care how, you know, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. what gender they are, feel they are. They're teenagers. They shouldn't be making decisions, and they shouldn't be led in directions by social media. I mean, it's creating kids that are socially inept. They don't know how to fucking talk to someone in person.
But again, that also goes back to parents.
Of course.
And parenting. So again, there's this lack of accountability.
Well,
we always come back
It always goes. You know, you had the helicopter moms in the 90s, and, you know, now kids can't get hurt. You know, I bought Joey a motorcycle last year, right? So he could learn how to ride. I showed him how to ride it. I cut him loose. Here, ride. He rides around the neighborhood, whatever. So then he saw the motorcycle that I bought, which is very fast dirt bikes, off-road bikes. And he's like, oh, let me ride it. I'm like, you can't really ride it. I know you can ride a motorcycle because you ride yours, clearly, but this is different. So I bought him a smaller version of what I had. And he rode it on Sunday, and he came back, and he was a little white-faced and, like, pale, and he parks it, and he's like, I'm done for the day. You know, because it gave him a good scare. Which is important for kids. You know, it's important for them to push those boundaries and see those things. And parents who are scared to let their kid cut themselves or eat dirt or any of those things are how this all started. And now there's parents who are scared there's parents who are literally scared to discipline their kids.
There's also parents who are scared to have a kid who's gay. Like, I don't,
you know,
like,
why do you have to go there?
Because you're okay with, like, it's funny to me. You're talking about your kid almost killing himself on a dirt bike. That's a good scare. But a kid who is testing their sexual boundaries is not okay. Not okay. Oh,
who said that's not okay?
You did. You're talking about the internet and it influencing kids. Len, when you're talking about hormones, I know you too well, so you can use your vagueness. But I know
first of all, that wasn't on my mind at all. We're talking about parents.
That wasn't.
And how they're how the kids are becoming the way they are.
Okay, but you're also talking. So
it's the parents.
So I'm saying the same thing though. Like these things have always existed. Helicopter parents have always existed. Like my point about the internet is the fact that now we know mass appeal across the board. Like there's no more living in denial about what is and isn't. The conversation I was having yesterday was about the LGBTQIA plus community, whatever. My point is that now there's nobody. You like to point out that in Kentucky, there's people that have never seen a gay person. But if you have the internet, you know they exist. 40 years ago, you could live in a bubble and pretend like they didn't, even though they've always been around. So again, when we go to the blessing and the curse part of it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that is part of the blessing. There's no more, like, when we talk about race, and when we talk about some of those things that you can't make you're talking about ignorance being bliss, and ignorance keeps you ignorant.
Is it a blessing?
Ignorance keeps you ignorant.
Is it a blessing that controversy from people that you would never have raised their voice in their entire life? You know,
they felt alone?
No, like we've talked about communities and different communities. If that religious community in podunk nowhere never got any of this influence from social media, they would never be fighting back against it.
Problem is, there's a person negatively impacted by their ignorance in that community. So that person now doesn't feel so alone. And that is my point, is that people that lived in those towns or people that believe or subscribe to ignorance is bliss are the same people that are like, where are they coming from? They're coming out the woodwork. They're everywhere now. I ain't never heard of so many gay people in my life. Like, all of a sudden now everybody's gay. No, not everybody's gay. And they've always been here. You're just now coming into the fold where they exist. And unfortunately, they have been empowered to be themselves. So it's no different than when we talk about racism in this country, when we talk about things that people don't like to talk about because ignorance is bliss. It exists, and it's always existed. And the only way to tackle it and hopefully come out the other side stronger is to acknowledge it. That's the first step. It's acknowledging it. It's like addiction, right? You can't ever overcome a problem if you don't acknowledge you have one. So to me, that is...
To what level, Kimmy? To what level? You know, I don't want to get into this conversation because It's the conversation we always get into. But to what level do you have to expose people to things they don't believe in or don't want to know about? To what level? To what
Don't get off the internet.
What purpose
Get
are you
off the
serving?
internet.
What purpose are you serving the local LGBT community in South Florida by enraging people in fucking Podunk, Kentucky? What are you serving? You're serving that one person that
enraged,
there
though?
might
It
be
doesn't
one.
affect them.
Oh, yeah, but
It
see,
doesn't
it
affect
does. It does.
Okay, so
It
their feelings
does.
matter more than the community here. The
No,
Podunk people.
no,
Okay.
but this is bringing stuff outside of their tribe. This is bringing stuff that is not normal for them.
But then they don't have to engage with it. Like, and that's the problem. Like, I didn't have to engage with that individual, right?
Exactly.
But now we choose to insert our, so clearly people don't really like the ignorance is bliss thing. People enjoy engaging and sticking their nose in other people's business. I did it yesterday, right? With an individual that I didn't know. And we're cool. I ended up with an okay. Like, he hit me with the okay, whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, I'm gonna be okay. But again, I feel, to me, there's some sort of validation in it because now I know. You know what I mean? Like, I just, when I see certain comments and when I see them in mass, you know how much longer the fight is going to go on. Like, you know that you know how much ground you still have to cover with certain things. And I think that that's important. And I think that that's growth, and that's how we evolve. Like, we should always be striving to be better. And again, when it comes to, you know, health, wellness, food, I think we see eye to eye on a lot of the same things. And I think I see eye to eye with a lot of people across the aisle, right? Like, that's something that I will agree with the Crystal Teenies on, the Lennies on, and the hippies on, and everybody else. You know, when it comes to social, cultural, and some other political things that have to do with human rights and just equality, you know, that's where the fight comes in. But I'm always going to fight for those things. And I think that the internet has really brought to light, you know, just how much ground we have to cover as a country. Like, that just is what it is.
No. Yeah, you're right.
Are you just saying that? I feel like you're completely just
No, I mean, listen, it's true, okay? You know, the country has to evolve. Mm-hmm. Which direction it's evolving in is the problem, is really the thing, you know? Mm-hmm. This goes back to the soft men make hard times. Mm-hmm. And that's where we are.
Do you think, though, that having the conversations with people outside of your tribe is beneficial?
I think.
Like, do you ever do it? Like, because you do it on our podcast. Like, you do it in
all
the comments,
time.
right?
I talk to people all the time. I fucking make Democrats cry and I make fucking Republicans cry because they're both fucking idiots. But see, now you made me lose my fucking thought.
I asked you if you think the conversations are beneficial.
Yes, but the problem is it's hard to have an intelligent conversation with someone because it's hard to find someone who's intelligent nowadays because everybody gets their information from fucking
But don't you think
their
that's
phone.
A bigger part? Like, that's the bigger conversation.
Sure. Yeah, that's why people can get on here and argue. Because they have this belief about, you know, something they heard. Okay, you heard it? Who said? I heard it on TikTok. Well, who'd you hear it from? Well, you know, this guy on TikTok said it. He looked important. You know, he sounded smarter than me. You know, I mean, it's like, that's why you can't have these fucking arguments with some people. I mean, I've had it at dinner on Friday night with my friends. Mm-hmm. They're fucking Trump thumpers. They love him. Mm-hmm. Okay? They voted for him. Mm-hmm. We've had so many fucking conversations at dinner over, and I'm like, you're just a fucking idiot. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, they're my friends. I'll tell them to your face. I'm like, where did you hear that? How do you fucking come up with that? Mm-hmm. You know, it's because they're being fed. Mm-hmm. They're being spoon-fed this stuff that they believe.
I think everybody also just feels like they missed out on debate team.
Yeah, not everybody's cut out for debate.
No shit. No, but that's what I'm saying. I think that's probably my bigger frustration, I guess.
I mean, there should be levels of social media.
I love that. I love
You know,
that. Like,
there should be level, you know.
there's levels to this shit. You're a beginner. Relax. Watch a couple
You know,
episodes
like
of
let's
Law &
just
Order.
have a social media that costs $500 a month to be a part of, and you'll see the change in conversation.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just
If
thank
you
for
can't
engaging
afford
me.
to be there for $500 a month,
I love it. Yeah. You're not going to be in it. But again, that's a testament to our country, the education system. It's a testament to what we value as a nation. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
there was a time when
you know what that
didn't feel-
testament is? Work fucking harder so you can afford to be on the $500 a month fucking Instagram. That's it. That's the testament. That's the testament.
make you smarter.
Anybody can fucking achieve anything in this country.
It doesn't make you intelligent.
It doesn't matter.
You can make a lot of money.
It doesn't matter. I would be much happier to accept you if I know it cost you $500.
I've had some really ignorant conversations with some
Listen,
very wealthy.
listen. The pillow guy is going to be the first one to sign up. So
God, and
you
he's
know,
a moron, and his pillow sucks.
But the point is, you know what you're getting.
I get that, but no, I want to have. I would like for us to just elevate as a people. How about that? Like,
Yeah,
so Letty just wants you to have more money.
No, I
would
want you
like
to
for
elevate
us-
yourself.
I would like for us to elevate as a people, but that starts fundamentally with public education.
Yeah,
Like that.
which is
That's
fucked.
yeah. I know, Len. I know.
It
50
fundamentally
50 years ago,
it
40 years
fundamentally
ago, it
starts-
wasn't though.
It fundamentally starts. You want to change this country. There's one fucking thing you can do: take money out of politics. Period. You take money out of politics. The only people that are going to run for politics are the people who want to fucking change things, not the people who want to fucking line their pockets. That's the simplest fucking thing. It's like it's so simple that people think, oh, he's fucking crazy for saying that. No, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. What's his name that ran? Jesse Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Wrestler.
he's like,
Right.
I didn't run again because I ran to do good for my community, and now I'm stepping down, and the next person can. Which is what
Isn't he the
politicians
governor?
used to be. Yeah.
Isn't he the governor?
Yeah.
Where?
Minnesota.
I think so. Right. Yeah.
But that's it. You know, that's the thing. That's the
But
thing.
it costs millions and millions and millions of dollars to even run. Which
It
means
does
no
not.
more than-
It does not necessarily cost millions of dollars to run and run and run. It costs millions of dollars to compete with somebody else
Yes.
who's spending millions
But
of dollars.
that's my point. I was agreeing with you in the fact that if
Yeah.
you take that out of it and
That
now
the whole
anybody can
entire
run.
country changes overnight.
Hmm.
Overnight. You get people who want to get in there and make a fucking change and not line their pockets, you'll see a change happen.
You'll see a change, but we have some fundamental
But again,
conversations
there's-
that need to be had amongst the American people.
Again,
Yeah.
there's people that can be real representatives of communities
Mm-hmm.
in office, not just paid representatives for whoever's paying them the most.
Is that going to keep us from fighting on the internet?
Probably not.
Okay. Well,
All right, let's wrap
there you
up.
have it.
Let's
yeah.
wrap
I
up
was gonna
43.
say, now you just had a whole tangent about politics. Lenny's running by the way in 2024, so you know. Len for Prez. You need a way better slogan. Figure that out for episode 44, okay? All right. Like, subscribe, share, follow everywhere you get your podcasts, social media. Leave your comments. Be kind to each other, especially in the comments, please, on social media. Don't swear at each other. I'm just saying, if you're going to argue with strangers,
Please have more than a 6th grade education if you're going to comment.
Lenny said that. I don't care what grade you're in. Just be kind to each other. All right. We're out.
Peace.